Welcome to installment 5.
I can't believe we're 5/6 of the way through.
It's, as always, been really fun seeing your progress through this. And installment 5 is, shall we say, a catch-up week. You have a dozen blocks to make, a little splicing to do, but it's a chance for everyone to catch up. I know some of you are going to get really restless here because you just want to keep going, but it's a really good opportunity to sit down, look at everything you've done, and make a few kind of quality control decisions.
A lot of you have been saying since the first installment, what are the size of the final blocks, and wanting to trim everything up and make sure everything would go together. And this is the week to do that. For the most part, a lot of the blocks, not all of them, but a lot of them will be in their final form. So this is a good time to make sure that all of your blocks are 8.5 by 8.5. And if they aren't 8.5 by 8.5, then you want to review the pattern, because I know some people
should be.
Yeah, I know some people kind of reflexively cut some of the earlier blocks into quarters instead of halves, and the triangles through some people they kind of didn't read all the way through. So
and the good news is when we say 8.5 by 8.5, that's give or take a bit. I mean, fabric stretches. We're not sitting there measuring precisely. If you're plus or minus a quarter of an inch, things can stretch. An 8.5-inch block really has a lot of forgiveness. These aren't tiny pieces, and you'll be working, as we said, there's still a little bit more to happen in step 6 or installment 6, but this is a good chance. If something is really off, like 8 inches or 9 inches, that does tell you that you went a little astray. But plus or minus a little bit, you can have your seam allowances will make up for it.
And if you did make some mistakes, remember in the last installment we said to have a little bonus pile. We'll tell you what to do with those blocks that maybe were a little bit small or a little bit large. We'll make use of them in the 6th installment.
But we thought this would also be a good chance to show you, not all, but kind of a bit from overhead of what we've done for this week. We took our semicircles and sewed them together. Now, I love watching how people lay things out in the Facebook group, and a lot of people naturally wanted to put these together. Well, actually, the line goes down the middle. They're facing away from each other. Although here they've joined up just as they're sitting there. We have this interesting thing happening here. There's the new block 8 AB. That's another spliced block. And some simple 3-strip blocks that are a fresh addition to the family of blocks.
So go ahead and, as always, check your printers for the scaling issue to make sure that everything's printing at 100% and that you aren't doing the scale to fit. Box isn't ticked on your print dialog box, and be sure to not cut any fabric until you are 100% sure that the scale that's on the printout matches your ruler.
And so here, in an earlier step, we had the mysterious block Y, or piece Y. And being a mystery quilt, usually the whole mystery is revealed at the end, but we thought, let's give them a little glimpse into one mystery of Y. So weeks.
Piece Y. This is affectionately known as the M&M holder.
Yes,
the pita,
thank you for the suggestion.
The pita holder. But we have a special fun thing that we're going to do with that today.
In installment 5.
That Bill has made for you a little template like this. It's part of installment 5. And you're going to take that and you're going to go over to a bright window. You want to do this during the daytime, or if you have a light table, that works as well. And you're going to take this cutout and you're going to put it in the little pita pocket, and you're going to tape it to the window and get a fabric pen. We like the Sakura Micron pens for fabric. You'll be able to trace it, and this will be your label. We've left room for the seam allowance, and you will sew this onto the back side of your quilt, onto the binding.
Tucking those raw edges into the binding.
Yes.
So that permanently anchors it, and then you can just take a little blind stitch to finish the template, or the label.
So what we've done is Bill has given you this template, and there's a line in the middle, and that is where you can write your name. And
it's just a guideline. You don't transfer that.
And then you will be memorializing your mastery of curves for the Modern Mystery Quilt 2023.
And not only that, but if you're like us, and like some people are so good about labels, and we're like
so terrible.
We're done
labels.
with it. Most of our quilts don't have labels because by the time we're done with the quilt, we're already starting the next one. And so we thought maybe we'll give you the label in step 5, knowing you still have to sew it in.
That's right.
But have you ever made a round label before?
How fun, right? So if the little M&M holder that you made had dark fabric and it doesn't work for a pen or the label or whatever, you can either choose a lighter fabric to use to make your label, or you can just use a different label altogether. But we thought as long as this is being cut and removed from one of your other blocks, it's kind of fun to have a curved label.
And so if you wonder why when making piece Y, we said pick your 2 lightest ones, in this case, we picked the lighter of the 2 lightest ones to use. And the other little detail, in the template, there's a 1/2 inch band at the bottom that's dark. It says that the shaded area will be under the binding. That's just a reminder that when you hold it up to your window or your light box, don't sign your name or do any writing there because it'll be covered up. That's where it'll be held in by the binding, assuming that most people are doing a standard 1/2 inch binding. It's just kind of a reminder. So now you know why. and
you can use the line. I would say put your signature, if you look on the template, where there's a small line, you want to write above that. As long as you write above that and you have a standard binding size, you'll be fine.
So we thought the label should be as fun as the quilt has been. And we look forward to seeing the little bit of progress that you make this week. Next week is the big reveal, and see you. We'll keep an eye on you all.
Well, let's just also reiterate.
Not the reveal. I shouldn't say the reveal. The big installment.
Let's also reiterate a couple of things. One is that you're going to want, this is the last week of posting publicly on the Modern Quilt Studio Patterns and Fabrics page on Facebook. And after that, we're going to ask you not to post anywhere until March 3rd. Part of it is we have people who are just joining today.
And like 5 minutes ago.
Right. So we really want to give people a chance to catch up. There are people who just had surgery or were on vacation or whatever who would like a chance to catch up. So what we're going to do is this is the last time we're going to have posts, and we will take them down if you post on social media.
If you give anything away on our...
Yeah, because we're trying to keep it fun for everybody. So you can post your installment 5, but when installment 6 comes, please do not, I know you're going to want to
don't post pictures
or
don't talk about it because
there will be details
you don't want to
share with people.
We'll say this again next week, but it's going to be hard because you're going to really want, I think you're really going to want to talk about it. And
yes, and we're just going to have to wait until March 3rd for that.
So
this is the last week where we can all ooh and ah for a little bit, and then we're going to give everybody else a chance to catch up. So have your good quality control catch-up week. And
I have one last thing to say. We also did a Quilts First Facebook live stream earlier this week. And when you are, it's a good thing to watch to start percolating, thinking about quilting. I know you don't even know what the quilt looks like yet, but we were discussing kind of strategies and decision making for quilts with the Modern Mystery Quilt in mind. But if you haven't watched that Quilts First, it's here on YouTube. As every month we have a Quilts First post, but take a look at that too and start thinking about it. We're going to give you a lot more to think about next week with installment 6. There's going to be a lot to talk about. But
a lot of people had questions about when you have a big value difference like this, how do you approach the thread color and that sort of thing.
Hues, yeah.
So this will give you something, a little bit to percolate about until next week when our
now you know why
installment 6. Yes. Sorry, M&Ms. Find another place.
Have a great week, everyone. See you next week.
Have fun.